Hey there, curious minds. Ever wondered what those tiny, invisible microplastics are doing inside your body? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the top 10 ways these sneaky little particles are wreaking havoc on your health. We're talking about plastic particles so small you can't even see them with the naked eye. They're in our oceans, our food, our water, and even the air we breathe. And guess what? They're not exactly good for you. From messing with your hormones to causing respiratory problems, these tiny plastic invaders are a big deal. So let's get right into it and uncover the shocking truth about microplastics and their impact on your body. Picture this. You're breathing in air just like every day, but tiny microplastics are hitching a ride on those air molecules. We're talking about inhaling plastic. You might think, it's so small, how bad could it be? Imagine breathing with tiny plastic particles stuck in your airways. Microplastics can cause inflammation and respiratory problems. They can trigger asthma attacks and exacerbate bronchitis. We're constantly bombarded with these microplastics in the air we breathe. Let's talk about something we all do eat. Where there's food, there are microplastics lurking. They're in our seafood, salt, beer, even bottled water. Imagine enjoying a meal, unaware you're ingesting plastic. These microplastics can wreak havoc on your gut. Inflammation, irritation, and digestive discomfort. They mess with your gut microbiome, causing issues. Bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. Okay, so we've talked about microplastics in our lungs and our gut, but hold on tight because this next one is a real doozy. Get ready to have your minds blown as we explore how these tiny plastic particles can mess with your hormones. You see, microplastics have this sneaky ability to mimic hormones in your body, particularly estrogen. And when these plastic imposters start messing with your endocrine system, it's like throwing a wrench into your body's control center. We're talking hormonal imbalances, folks. And when your hormones are out of whack, it can lead to a whole cascade of health problems. Think irregular periods, fertility issues, even an increased risk of certain cancers. And it's not just estrogen that microplastics like to mimic. They can also mess with other hormones like testosterone and thyroid hormones, further disrupting your body's delicate hormonal balance. So imagine this. These tiny plastic particles, so small you can barely see them, are secretly messing with your hormones, potentially leading to some serious health problems down the line. It's like a slow-acting poison that we're unknowingly ingesting, inhaling, and absorbing through our skin every single day. Chapter 4, Immune System Interference, Microplastics Weakening Your Defenses. Let's talk about your immune system, the incredible internal defense force that protects you from all sorts of nasty invaders like bacteria, viruses, and microplastics. You see, as if microplastics weren't already causing enough trouble, they also have the audacity to mess with your immune system. Think of it this way. Your immune system is like a well-trained army, always on high alert, ready to defend your body from any threat. But then, these microplastics come along, these tiny plastic insurgents, and they start interfering with your immune system's ability to function properly. They can weaken your immune response, making you more susceptible to infections and illnesses. It's like having your body's defense army outnumbered and outmaneuvered by these tiny plastic invaders. And the worst part? Microplastics can trigger inflammation throughout your body, which further weakens your immune system and makes you more vulnerable to all sorts of health problems. So not only are microplastics directly harming your cells and organs, but they're also sabotaging your body's ability to defend itself. It's like fighting a losing battle against an invisible enemy. Chapter 5, Mood Swings, Microplastics Messing with Your Mind. All right, let's talk about something that affects us all. Our mood. We all have our ups and downs, our good days and bad days. But what if I told you that those mood swings could be exacerbated by, you guessed it, microplastics? That's right, folks. These tiny plastic particles aren't just content with wreaking havoc on our physical health. They also have the potential to mess with our minds. And no, I'm not talking about some sci-fi mind control scenario here. Microplastics can cross the blood-brain barrier, which is like the security checkpoint for your brain. And once they're in, they can start interfering with brain function. We're still learning about the exact mechanisms involved, but studies have shown a link between microplastic exposure and an increased risk of anxiety, depression, and even cognitive decline. Imagine this. These tiny plastic particles, so small you can't even see them, infiltrating your brain and potentially affecting your mood, your thoughts, and even your behavior. Chapter 6, Respiratory Problems, breathing in a plastic nightmare. Remember back in Chapter 1 when we talked about microplastics getting lodged in your lungs? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive deeper into the respiratory havoc these tiny plastic particles can wreak. We already know that inhaling microplastics can cause inflammation and irritation in your airways, leading to coughing, shortness of breath, and even asthma. But it gets worse. Long-term exposure to microplastics can lead to chronic respiratory issues like bronchitis and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. It's like having your lungs constantly fighting off these plastic intruders, leading to scarring and damage over time. Imagine this. You're trying to take a deep breath, but it feels like you're breathing through a straw. Your lungs are constantly inflamed, and you're prone to coughing fits and wheezing. And for those of you who already suffer from respiratory conditions, microplastics can exacerbate your symptoms and make it even harder to breathe. Chapter 7: Cellular Damage. Microplastics, attacking your cells. Let's get microscopic for a moment and talk about your cells, the building blocks of your body. Now, imagine these tiny microplastics, smaller than the width of a human hair, invading your cells and causing all sorts of damage. That's right, folks. Microplastics can penetrate your cells and wreak havoc from within. They can cause oxidative stress, which is like rusting your cells from the inside out. This oxidative stress can damage your DNA, leading to mutations and potentially increasing your risk of cancer. And it's not just cancer we have to worry about. Cellular damage caused by microplastics has also been linked to other chronic diseases like heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, and even infertility. So imagine this. These tiny plastic particles, so small you can barely see them, are silently invading your cells, causing damage that can lead to a whole host of health problems down the line. Okay, let's talk about something that's near and dear to many of us, starting a family. But what if I told you that those tiny microplastics we've been talking about could potentially affect your fertility and reproductive health? That's right, folks. Microplastics have been found in human placentas, breast milk, and even testicular fluid. And while more research is needed, some studies suggest that exposure to microplastics could potentially harm reproductive health. For men, microplastic exposure has been linked to decreased sperm count and motility, which can make it harder to conceive. And for women, microplastics have been found to disrupt hormone levels, which are crucial for regulating the menstrual cycle and supporting a healthy pregnancy. So imagine this. You're trying to start a family, but those tiny plastic particles so small you can barely see them could be sabotaging your chances. Let's talk about skincare, because who doesn't love a good face mask or exfoliating scrub? But what if I told you that some of those skincare products you're slathering on your face might actually be doing more harm than good? That's right, folks. Microplastics are commonly found in personal care products, like face washes, scrubs, and even toothpaste. And while they might be marketed as adding a little extra exfoliation or scrubbing power, these tiny plastic particles can actually irritate your skin and clog your pores. Imagine this. You're trying to pamper yourself with a relaxing skincare routine, but those tiny microplastics are secretly irritating your skin, causing redness, dryness, and even breakouts. We've spent the last 9 chapters talking about how microplastics can mess with your body, but the truth is, these tiny plastic particles are a problem for our entire planet. Microplastics are everywhere. They're in our oceans, our rivers, our soil, our air, and even our drinking water. They're consumed by marine life, ending up in the seafood we eat. They contaminate our crops, making their way into our fruits and vegetables. They even get into our bottled water, meaning we're ingesting plastic with every sip. And it's not just the environment that's suffering. Remember all those health problems we talked about? They're not just a problem for individuals. They're a public health crisis in the making. So imagine this, a world where our oceans are choked with plastic, our food is contaminated, and our bodies are riddled with microplastics. It's a bleak picture, but it's the reality we face if we don't take action. So, next time you think microplastics are no big deal, remember this list and how these tiny particles are silently wreaking havoc on your body and environment. We've explored how microplastics can get into your lungs, your gut, your bloodstream, and even your brain, causing a whole host of health problems. But it's not just about individual health, it's about the health of our planet. We need to reduce our reliance on single-use plastics. support companies that are taking steps to eliminate microplastics from their products, and advocate for stricter regulations on plastic production and disposal. Stay informed, stay healthy, and let's fight against plastic pollution together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more eye-opening content.